everybody, it's Rudy at Loudon Painting Studio. Today's painting guide is for an 18mm AB miniatures Napoleonic French line infantry sergeant. So what differentiates a sergeant from your line fusilier? Quite often you'll see them carrying the musket in the right arm. And in this period, which is sort of 1807 to 1812 and a bit further, your sergeant has the long-tailed coat, and you also see that he's carrying a short sword. We know he's not a member of the elite companies because he's got a round pom-pom, not thistle-shaped, and there's no epaulets on the shoulders either, so he's a centre company sergeant. There's a couple of bits of insignia we might paint on his sleeves at the end of the process. I'm going to be working with some acrylic paints for this guy today. And I've got Vallejo dark Prussian blue. I'm going to start painting his coat. Quite a few straps and lapels on the jacket. I want to leave them white. There'll be some mistakes to tidy up, no doubt, but we'll come back and deal with them later. Next up on his jacket is some red areas. I'm using flat red, another Vallejo model colour. So collars, cuffs, if you're feeling brave, there's a little bit of piping on things like the shoulder straps. I painted a bit of the dark Prussian blue in the centre of them earlier. It's also a bit of red piping on the turnbacks, so just towards the edge where they meet the blue. I'm going to paint in his skin. I'm using Vallejo model colour light flesh for the base coat. Up next is flat brown. I'm doing the wood of the musket. I'll also use this to pick out his hair. And the fur of the pack. I like to leave a bit of white stitching around the border of the panels, and there are also white straps. You can always tidy these up when we come to fill in all the white areas on the model later. Next model colour I'm using is black grey. The boots and gaiters, get this base coat, as well the cartridge box. The scabbard and the bayonet sheath here will get a base coat with the black grey. And then looking at his shako, there's a lace cord. I'll try and avoid that if possible. I'll try and leave the pom-pom and little rosette that's just below it. You might expect white trousers as part of the sort of the standard kit. Could imagine this sergeant's been on campaign a while, perhaps in somewhere like Spain, and has picked up some local brown trousers to replace his worn out white overalls. This is beige brown, again a model colour paint. We'll paint in the pom-pom. So the Fusilier companies could have blue, green, violet, or Aurora, which is sort of a peachy yellow. We'll go for a Prussian blue to do the pom-pom here. He's got a great coat rolled up on top of his pack here. I'm using model colour light grey. Got Vallejo metal colour aluminium. Let's go pick out parts of the bayonet, also the musket barrel. This is model colour brass. Picking out the chin straps. So the lozenge shaped plate on the front of the shako. Hilt of the sabre. And the end of the scabbard. I will be hitting the model with a wash once these base colours have dried. The eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed some red has been applied that I didn't talk about earlier. So there's a bit of red piping at the edges of the lapels. The cuff design, a bit of red going up the rear of the cuff flap and then along the top. And I had forgotten to do the shoulder strap on this side, which is done now. There are some splodges of paint over some of the straps. You could tidy these up now with white colour. But after a wash, these are all going to need highlighted up anyway. And I'm going to wait until I've done the wash before I touch up the white areas. There's piping on the cuffs as well, needs to be put in. I'm just going to do that after a wash has been applied. I think it looks brighter and stands out more if we do it and we're not having to do it twice. The wash I'm going to apply, there's 3 parts to it. Army Painter Dark Tone, Army Painter Flesh Wash, and Army Painter Quickshade Mixing Medium. So I think this looks a lot better now that the wash is on and it's helped to define shadows around the straps. I've got some Vallejo model colour Ivory, and I'll use this to pick out the straps. Also the lapels and waistcoat. Tiny bit of highlighting for the shackle cord. And there's straps on the pack, could do with a highlight, tidy up. Turnbacks. Now a bit more challenging is the piping around on the cuffs. I'll try to do this on camera. So where the red and blue meet. And square that off with some of the ivory there. I'll do that on the other side. So as well as straps and the piping on the cuffs, I've done a bit of white piping on the collar. I've got the flat brown again. And just add a bit of highlighting onto the wood. And to the pack. Highlight the trousers with some beige brown. Second highlight colour is Monster Brown from the Ivory painter. I'm going to use the Prussian blue to add some fine highlights to the blue of the jacket, concentrating on like the elbows where the light would catch more. I like that pom-pom back up as well. My red highlight is with model colour Scarlet. The light grey, I'm doing a fine highlight of the edge of the visor on the shackle. Tip of the toes. The shackle rim. Edge of the cartridge box. The scabbard. And of course the greatcoat. Going back to the beige brown, even thinner highlight on the musket wood. And a thin highlight on the bayonet sheath. Going to look at some of the insignia that we'd see to mark him out as a sergeant. On the forearm, we'd have a stripe and a chevron on the upper arm, roughly putting the shape in with some of the flat brown just now. I will then try and do a very thin line with some Vallejo gold. I also use this for highlighting things like the lozenge on the shackle and hilt of the sabre and the scabbard end. And with some of the metal colour aluminium, I'll highlight the metal. Going to push the highlights on the white. This is coat d'arms white. Let's try and do the edges of the straps only. Add some more ruddiness to his skin. This is Speedpaint Peachy Flesh from the Army Painter. And here we are all based up. There's some Vallejo earth texture, brown earth, and then a layer of MIG dry mud pigments. I've applied that not just to the base but also to the bottom half of his trousers as well. Sort of give the appearance of having walked in the dusty earth for a while. Quite happy with how this one's turned out. It's a bit more work than you might want to put into a whole regiment, but for command figures like this sergeant, a little bit of extra work brings out the best in the sculpt. Thanks for watching. If you've got any comments, please leave them below. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.